The question I get asked the most often in the DMs is, Jurijs, can you please give me feedback on my aquarium? What do you think? Do you like it? What is your opinion? And I always feel sorry because I cannot take the time to give the guys a proper reply to it. And so I've had a conversation with these two handsome guys behind me, Michael Mikkelsen and George Farmer, and they suggested, Jurijs, why don't you do a critique or review aquascape video on YouTube? And I think that's a great way. This way I can interact with you guys and give you feedback on all your DMs that I'm receiving. And I don't give any proper advice in those DMs because that's not a specific question. So I'm gonna stop rambling here. This episode we are at Michael Mikkelsen's house and I'm gonna review and critique one of his scapes, or maybe two scapes. And for those of you who would like to get yours reviewed as well, use the hashtag JSSCAPEREVIEW on Instagram and make sure to tag me so I get notified. So the scape number one I'm reviewing is this 45 centimeter Iwagumi from Michael, and I think it looks nice in the first place. That's important. So the overage score is good. And the plants Michael has used here are Himianthus scuba in the foreground, then it transitions towards the back to Eleocharis mini, which is great because Eleocharis mini has a smaller pattern and it kind of works well to improve the sense of scale. Then we have some sort of gray stone rock here, or elephant skin, they're called different everywhere. And in the back there is some Eleocharis xingu or Montevidensis and some Ludwigia palustris, the red stem. There are red cherry shrimps in here, or sakura, I'm not sure, some dwarf rasboras and one amber tetra. I see some odocinculus here as well as some algae-eating nerite snails. Critique-wise, first of all, I see 4 rocks. Rule number 1 in Iwagumis, always try to use an odd number of rocks. I think there could have easily been one more rock on this right side that would balance out the composition, or it has to be a 3-rock Iwagumi, and I could easily imagine removing this rock over here and just these 3 rocks. That would work as well. This is very minimalistic, and I think it would actually look nicer without this one rock, or it needs another one added in the back. Other than the number of the rocks, the position of the rocks is nice, but the main rock is very, very central. So I would move the main rock a little bit to the right side, as it is in the composition right now, so towards the golden rule ratio, like the 2/3, 1/3. And I would move it a little bit to the side, add a little one extra rock on the other side, and then have these 2 rocks here to balance out the composition. Then it would become a little bit triangular, so we have 2 smaller rocks rising up towards the big one, and then 2 more small rocks on the other side, complementing it. Other than that, I see a lack of mid-ground plants here, so we have quite shallow and flat foreground. Yes, there is some transition from Himianthus scuba to Eleocharis mini, but I think the scape could benefit if it would have, I don't know, maybe some Starogania repens, or maybe some larger, I don't know, Eriocaulon, or maybe Sagittaria, something like that in the mid-ground, or maybe Echinodorus tenellus, something like that in the mid-ground, behind the rocks, in between the rocks, as a transition towards the mid-ground, so it's not so flat. Or you have to go like really classic and keep everything flat with a monoculture. That would work as well. But in here with very tall background with this Eleocharis montevidensis and Ludwigia stem, I would really add some more mid-ground plants to accentuate them. Speaking about the plants in the background, we have the Eleocharis montevidensis and the Ludwigia palustris. I think the palustris is some new addition to the tank, and with some trimming and replanting the tips, it's going to be yeah, more dense and will branch out and make a little red bush and accent in the background. Gonna look nice. I actually like it there, but what is a little bit not so well is the super flat background and then almost vertical growth of the Eleocharis montevidensis. So there is definitely a need for a transition. It could be maybe Eleocharis acicularis that grows taller. It could be Cryptocorini venetiae green. It could be, yeah, like before, the plant from the midground, something like Sagittaria or Echinodorus tenellus, something that just makes a smooth transition to the background of the aquarium. Other than that, there is not much to critique or improve on this aquarium, of course. Maybe some trimming, trying to keep the carpet in the foreground super flat, literally just as flat as possible. This is going to improve the sense of scale. I see from the planting, the soil wasn't perfectly even. This can be fixed in post with a credit card or just a plastic card or a triangle, like a ruler or something. You can go inside and press it down to make the foreground perfectly horizontal. And yeah, then just keep the Hemianthus cuba like 0.5 centimeter in height, like very shallow. This is gonna give more depth to the aquarium. Also, fish-wise, I think the Otocinclus looks a little bit odd in this aquarium because it is the body size is just too large for this tank, and the one single amber tetra, I guess that's temporarily in here. It's going to be removed in a different aquarium because, yeah, just a single type small dwarf Raspora would definitely be the best. And the fish and shrimps in this tank, I think the red cherry or sakura shrimps, they're very well visible, and this is more of a classic style. So I think something more delicate and less visible would be nicer. Maybe tiger shrimps or raccoon, dwarf shrimps, something like almost transparent without any color. I think I've seen some really nice Sulawesi inland shrimps when I visited the shop in Vienna in Austria, Liquid Nature. Yeah, they're inland Sulawesi shrimp. They look like miniature version of amino shrimps. So yeah, something like that would be really cool. And I would definitely keep this Eleocharis montevidensis only in the back, because when it starts growing in the midground, coming towards the foreground, yeah, it's like bamboo in the garden. You don't want the bamboo all over the lawn. So that's it about this one. Let's move on to the other one. So tank number 2 is a 60 by 36 centimeter Iwagumi as well. So we see Michael definitely likes the Iwagumi style, but it's not the only style he has. The other tanks are featuring driftwood. And yeah, so this one is with photostones as well. The main carpeting plant is Glossostigma elatinoides. We have some Litorella uniflora, like little details in the midground. The Glossostigma goes all the way to the back. Here we have a little Reinecke mini, Alcinatea Reinecke mini, and in the left back corner there is the Rotala species green. This aquarium is only 1 week and 2 or 3 days old, so it's a little bit unfair to judge it, but I think there are some basic things to say about it, and they're not specifically critique, but yeah, just a few things that I would point out. As it is right now, we have this open path exactly in the middle of the aquarium. So I think, again, the golden rule ratio can be applied, and something very central is always catching the viewer's attention. Also, the main rock, the tip, is almost in the middle of the aquarium. I find it a little bit distracting right now, but I believe with the Rotala species green being in the back, over time this can balance the layout. Also, there is one more stone behind the large stone. This can be tilted, moved, so the pathway could be shifted a little bit, so it is less symmetrical. The Reinecke mini is a single plant here. I don't know, it doesn't show up anywhere else in the scape, so one has to see how it develops, how it will look like, but I think it could work. Also with this rock, also with this very central focus pathway, I think this can work. And you know, guys, with all the rules, sometimes one has to break the rules to experiment and to see if it works or not. I think that's the best way you can learn. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Actually, you should love making mistakes, because if you do, then you know that you can improve. Otherwise you don't know you have done a mistake. And if you do so, then you can improve, and then you know what to do next time. So don't be afraid of, and that's something to say about Michael. He's experimenting a lot, he's rescaping his tanks very, very often, reusing the plants, reusing the hardscape, doesn't keep them for very long, and just moving fish from one tank to another. And if that was my scape, what I would have done eventually, I would have planted more densely, and I think I would have planted the middle section here in between the rocks just to add more green. This is a very hardscape heavy tank, and having just more green in the tank I believe would have helped. This Litorella uniflora is not really going to add too much green to the aquarium. It is a very slow growing plant. It doesn't really build a thick and dense carpet, so it's really just for highlights. And when you have that closostigma in the middle, like everywhere, I think probably, you know, you could even add rocks afterwards to it. What I would have done as well is building up more height with hardscape on the right side, because as it looks right now, this main big rock on the right side is almost on the exactly same height as the small rock in the background. So I think it definitely needs a bigger rock in the background to balance out this side. Otherwise it looks like we have a 90-degree step over here, and 90-degree angles should be avoided whenever possible. Also, I think with the selection of rocks could have been a little bit better. So for example, this side, they're all kind of brownish color. They have this very rough, I don't know, edges and corners and the cracks here in the foreground. While this rock over here is more grayish and is more sort of a round shape, almost like lava, and looks kind of different from these bigger rocks on this side. So this is very important when you're selecting rocks. Not all rocks that are sold as one type of rocks, like here, protostones, they don't all look the same. Even like mini landscape rocks, some are more sharp edges, some are more round edges. So whenever you're picking rocks, try to select rocks that look almost or as close to each other or as similar as possible for the most uniform look. And yeah, I think that sums up this layout. I'm very curious how this one is going to develop. Once again, it's just 1 week and a couple of days old. And I think when the Rotala Green has filled in more, and I know Michael is going to tweak it and do some changes, maybe after he has watched this video. I'm really looking forward how it is going to develop and look in a couple of months. So this is it for episode number 1 of JSSCAPEREVIEW. Once again, the hashtag JSSCAPEREVIEW. If you want to submit yours, just post a picture on Instagram, use that hashtag, tag me on the image and on the description. And if you want, just send it to me via direct message as well, just to catch as much attention as possible. And yeah, we have Michael here in the background. He sneaked into the room. I wanted him to stay out and then watch the final video. So Michael, what would you say? You got some value from it?
Keep on scaping!
Yeah, George got some value, obviously.
You're crazy.
I'm crazy?
Yeah, you're crazy. No, it was good to hear. Josh, come on. You
okay.
Always blow it.
That's it, guys. That's enough. It was good to hear. He's going to check out the full video.
Yep.
Anyway, guys, do all the things that YouTubers tell you to do. Love you. Gonna see you hopefully in the next Scape review. Bye. Okay, guys. If you enjoyed this review, just click the thumbs up button. You know how it works. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, take it outside. I don't know, and
yeah,
baby.
Do what again?
Look at it all from the start.
Yeah, from the start.
Right from the start.
This is a 60 centimeter aquarium. I guess that's like 60 by 36, something like that. Yeah. And that was the bunny in the background. Oh, by the way, this tank over here, maybe you have seen a little bit of it in the footage. We're going to escape right now. And yeah, if you want to see it, click somewhere up above here. It's going to be on Jurijs' channel. And yeah, gonna see you in the next one.